Hey guys, Matt here with CapitalistFlight.com. Many people today are having a really tough time understanding why illegal immigration is bad. They think that it's simply racist not to let Mexicans in the country. After Donald Trump won, they were in the street protesting and, in their minds, doing the right thing for justice. Little do they know they are missing a big piece of the puzzle, so I'm going to explain exactly why illegal immigration is harmful in the modern day United States. The reason is simply this: Mexicans use much more welfare and public money than they contribute to. Therefore, they harm economic production by having a negative net effect on private resources. It doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to understand the economic repercussions that follow when you combine an open border with a welfare state. But if you still don't understand, I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through this. I don't want you to end up being an ignorant clown like Whoopi Goldberg. There's nothing inherently wrong with an open border as long as there is no guaranteed income in the country. Here in the US, there is a guaranteed income. Naturally, this attracts people from other countries that are poor, such as Mexico. People come here and consume taxpayer money in either direct benefits, such as Social Security, Medicare, welfare programs such as food and medical assistance, public education such as grade schools and colleges, and public services such as police and fire department. Think of something as simple as elementary school. If there is an influx of Spanish-speaking kids, there needs to be a proportional amount of bilingual teachers hired. This is difficult and usually more expensive to get bilingual teachers, and there also needs to be more schools built, not to mention all the expensive things inside the schools like desks, computers, and things like that. Taxpayers pay for these things. You might be thinking by now, don't Mexicans pay taxes too? Well, yeah, they do, but not very much, not near the amount in money they consume. It's a fact that in the United States, Mexican people use welfare at a much higher rate than both the whites and blacks. This is undisputable. There are literally thousands of independent studies that prove this, but the most notable research in the field comes from the Center for Immigration Studies. In 2015, more than half of immigrant-headed households use one or more welfare program. The average household headed by an immigrant, legal or illegal, costs taxpayers $6,234 in federal welfare benefits, which is 41% higher than the $4,431 received by the native household. So let's take a break and think about this for a moment. The average Mexican family costs taxpayers an extra $6,234, and there are millions of Mexican families in the U.S. That money could have been spent on trying to increase production, raising the quality of life for everyone, but now it's being squandered away on whoever wishes to come here. That money comes directly from other people who work hard and try to enjoy the fruits of their own labor. Is it fair for an American family to be forced to skip their vacation because another Mexican family came across the border? I don't think so. It continues. The average immigrant household consumes 33% more cash welfare, 57% more food assistance, and 44% more Medicaid dollars than the average native household. Then that last part explains that Mexicans use so much welfare because they are mostly unskilled, thus not making that much money, but at the same time they have kids at an astounding rate. Their kids qualify for welfare programs such as free school lunch, free healthcare, and things like that, and boy do they take advantage of this. Mexican people that come here don't need the welfare, they take it because it's free money with no strings attached. If you were poor and someone offered you money for nothing, you would take it too. They're just acting in their best self-interest. The reason they are qualifying for more and more welfare programs is because the Democrats get their votes if they give them taxpayer money. And if you're wondering, what if they do need the welfare? I ask you this, what are they doing having kids they can't afford? Who in the world would have a child they are unable to take care of? Anyone who brings a child into the world without the ability to take care of it is sick in the head. I think the most important question to ask yourself is this: do you think the average American citizen has a moral obligation to finance anyone who wishes to come here? Many Democrats argue that Mexicans are good for the economy and they pay taxes. This is a very dishonest statement. Just because you pay taxes doesn't mean you don't consume more in taxpayer money. If a man totally dependent on welfare goes into a gas station and buys a beer, he pays some sales tax. That doesn't mean he pays for all the government money he uses. Mexicans use much more public money than they contribute to because there is so much welfare programs they qualify for and they don't pay that much in taxes. If they didn't receive welfare, then they would benefit the economy. But that's not the case thanks to the Democrats for taking advantage of them for votes. It's an elementary economic principle that taxation discourages production. When people lose 100 cents to every dollar they lose and keep only 50 cents to every dollar they earn, they stop investing in business. Companies can't afford to keep all their employees anymore. People can't buy and save what they would like because their own paycheck is disappearing in front of their eyes and being handed to the newly arrived Latinos. This is the reason why people want to close the border, not because of racism. To say it's racist, you don't want other people to consume your paycheck is delusional. Only someone who lacks the brain power to understand would spout out something so silly and retarded. Another thing Democrats say is Mexicans come here for the freedom of work. That part is fine if they don't use welfare, but I'm going to call BS on that statement because Mexicans vote overwhelmingly Democrat for more welfare programs and larger government. If they don't want to use welfare, why are they voting for the party that implements more welfare programs every election cycle? You tell me. Cuban people that come here are mostly Republican. They risk their lives swimming on a small raft just to come here for the free market and freedom. Why can't Mexican people overall be more like this? The Democratic Party has been trying for decades to get more illegals to vote. They push for laws that don't require ID at voting booths, and they actually pushed for laxer voting laws in general for things like registration. Obama essentially said that if Mexicans vote this past election cycle, they have nothing to worry about.
Many of the millennials, dreamers, undocumented citizens, and I call them citizens because they contribute to this country, are fearful of voting. So if I vote, will immigration know where I live? Will they come for my family and deport us?
Not true.
Also, the Democrats push for Mexicans to get driver's licenses to vote. I know this for a fact because there was an email hack from John Podesta, the head of Hillary's once campaign, that proves it. The email has been verified by cybersecurity experts, so it's authentic, and that's the reason why the Clinton campaign couldn't deny it. The email reads, "On the picture ID, the one thing I've thought of in that space is if you show up on election day with a driver's license with a picture, attest you're a citizen, you have a right to vote in federal elections." Can you believe that? The Democratic Party wanted Mexicans to get driver's licenses for the sole purpose of voting. Do Mexican people not feel exploited by this? I know I would. Illegal Mexican people, if they don't already have a government-issued ID or driver's license, use fake ID to vote. There is hundreds of thousands of fake IDs confiscated by ICE every single year, and when these people are caught, they often voluntarily say they use them to vote. So there's a few problems with Mexicans coming here. Problem 1, they use a ridiculous amount of welfare and public money. Problem 2, they don't pay that much in taxes. Problem 3, they vote for larger government and more welfare programs, putting the country in an even deeper depression. And you might have noticed I didn't mention the drug trade or anything of that nature. That's because the illegal drug trade is minuscule compared to the harm that excess usage of welfare does. A lot of conservatives talk about the harm done through the drug trade, and it does cost a lot of money, but it's nowhere near the amount welfare costs. If we didn't live in a welfare state, there would be nothing wrong with Hispanics coming to the U.S., but then there wouldn't be nearly as many coming. It's estimated that illegal Mexican immigrants cost over $100 billion in taxpayer money. That means the average American household pays over $1,000 every year because of this. So you need to ask yourself this question. Are you okay having a $1,000 or more pay cut every year so Mexicans can live here? I do have to be honest and say when illegals are in the country, produce and similar items drop a few cents. But I'd rather spend 20 cents more for my apples than pay $1,000 extra in taxes every year. This video is not made to bash Mexicans. If you're Mexican, the real group you should be angry at is the Democrats for making your people a tax burden just to come here so they can get more votes. I think Hispanic women are some of the most beautiful women in the world, and Hispanic people in general some of the nicest and most kind I've met. My problem is one of economics, and many people don't seem to understand that. Hopefully after watching this you understand the real issue and realize it's not racism. Please give me a like if you enjoyed the video, definitely leave a comment telling me your thoughts, and consider subscribing for future content.